So a couple weeks ago, or I guess about 3 weeks ago now, I had a sermon on a question that Jesus asked, and I said I might turn it into a series and take a look at more of the questions that he asked. And the Lord led me that way, so that's what we're going to do. So this morning, we're going to take a look at another question. And just as a reminder, what we talked about, or what I talked about a few weeks ago, the idea of questions being a great teaching tool. And that you can learn a lot more when the person teaching you asks you questions instead of just always answering yours. And Jesus understood that, and he did it many, many times with his disciples and with all of those that he was teaching at the time. I also mentioned that there were over 300 questions that Jesus asked during his ministry, but that the number was inflated because some of them were kind of two-part questions. It was a question followed immediately by a follow-up question with no time for answering the first one. And the two questions together were meant to learn something or teach something of a compound interest, kind of. So this morning, that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at one of those instances where Jesus asked a question, didn't even pause, and just went right into a second question. And we're going to take a look at those two questions and hopefully learn a little bit for ourselves from them. So what we're going to be reading from this morning is from Mark 4. It's going to be verses 35 through 41. And again, this is fairly early in Jesus' ministry. And it's after he has done some preaching and some miracles on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. And that's where we're going to pick up here in verse 35. So Mark 4, verse 35, and we'll read to 41. On the same day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us cross over to the other side." Now when they had left the multitude, they took him along in the boat as he was. And other little boats were also with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that it was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on a pillow. And they awoke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Then he arose and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But he said to them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" And they feared exceedingly and said to one another, "Who can this be that even the wind and sea obey him?" So this morning, I want us to put ourselves into the disciples' shoes here, or I guess sandals, we'll say. Here they are, it's the end of a long, busy day, and instead of just setting up camp or sleeping where they're at, Christ is like, well, let's go across the sea. Remember who the disciples are, because that becomes important to this storm that arises. You see, a terrible storm comes up. It says a great windstorm arose. So the Sea of Galilee is situated in a place where it kind of is in the middle of a valley, and it collects wind almost. And it becomes like a wind tunnel. And that wind whips across the surface of the Sea of Galilee, creating some pretty big storms at times. And that's what's happening here in the middle of the night, or I guess it would probably be early in the evening at this point still. And the disciples are terrified. The boat is filling with water. But remember, 4 of those disciples were professional fishermen. James, John, Simon Peter, and Andrew all grew up fishing on the Sea of Galilee. They knew about the wind, they knew about the storms, they'd experienced them before. If they were scared, this was a major storm. This wasn't a typical storm. This was a great windstorm, so great that even lifelong fishermen who had spent days and nights on this very sea were panicking. And what do? They wake Jesus up. It makes sense. You're panicking. The ship is sinking. It's filling with water. You're probably bailing for your lives. You're doing whatever you do with the rigging. I'm not a sailor. I don't know about boats all that much, but I know there's something called rigging and there's sails. And I imagine that they're probably doing everything they can with the rigging, with the sails, with bailing out the boat, doing what they have to the rudder, maybe trying to throw out an anchor. They're doing all these things, trying to keep the boat afloat. And they turn around and they see one member of the group is just sleeping in the back of the boat. Put yourself in their shoes. This is the scariest storm you've seen, and you've been on the sea before. And he's sleeping. I feel like I can hear a little bit of frustration in their voice when they say, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? We're all up. We're all racing around the deck of this boat, bailing water, tying down sails, releasing sails, whatever they're doing, and you're sleeping." And that's when he asks them, well, first, he calms the storm. He just wakes up and he's like, looks around, peace, be still. And like this glassy surface of a still lake, silence. No more waves, no more wind. But he turns to them, and that's when he asks the questions. Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? Was their fear unfounded? I don't think so. Put any one of us in that situation on a boat, even if we'd been on boats our entire lives, as at least 4 of these men had, we would have been scared. The boat's sinking. You're out in the middle of a sea. The fear isn't unfounded. So I think we need to look closer at what Christ is asking in this first question. Why are you so fearful? So you know me, I like looking at the language that was originally written, that the Bible was originally written in. And I like looking at the Greek and the Hebrew and seeing what nuances there are to their words that we just don't have in English. I have a coworker who is from Japan, and she's learning English. She does very well. She's been here since high school, so probably about 10 or 15 years. But she's still, some of the nuances in the English language she struggles with, because in Japanese they don't have words like a or the. So all those little interjectory words that we throw in between things to try and explain them, they just don't use them. So she skips them. As much as we have all those extra words in English that she always is complaining about, we actually did the opposite overall with our language. We actually consolidated words. So in English, we use the word fear, and it has many different meanings. You have to look at the context of the entire statement to understand which version of fear we're talking about. The Greeks didn't do that. So I looked back and I looked at the Greek words for fear, and I noticed, if you notice, it does say, why are you so fearful? But then right below that, they feared. So we have fear twice in consecutive verses. But when you go back to the Greek, it's not the same word. It's 2 different words that both get translated as fear. In verse 41, and they feared exceedingly, that word there is phobos, which is more of an alarm type of fear, but it also can mean respect or reverence. That is like saying the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It's reverence. It's not terror. So the word phobos here can either be alarm, fear, or it can mean reverence. And I think at some level it's reverence with a little bit of alarm. But the other word, when Christ asks them, why are you so fearful? That word is delos. And typically that word means timid or fearful. It fits. They were timid in this situation. They were fearful. But I wanted to look into the words for fear a little bit more. And I looked, and I ended up going down a little bit of a rabbit hole and lost a few hours of reading all kinds of interesting things about ancient Greece, and then finally got myself back on track. And I found an interesting article, I found it interesting anyways, on the website for the Center for Hellenistic Studies. And basically Hellenistic studies is just the study of ancient Greece. And the author was named Gregory Nagy, and he actually has written 18 or 19 different books on ancient Greece. So I kind of trust him when he gives what words meant and what the Greeks thought in the way they spoke and the way they said things. And he said there's 3 different words for fear, basically. And we've got 2 of them right here, and I'm not even going to go into the third one because I don't want to muddy the waters here because it's not even used. But the word delos or deos, when he looks at it and he tries to look at the linguistics of it and a deeper meaning of it, the nuances of that word, the root of the word is actually do. The Greek do, which is two. And when you start looking at that word and you start looking at deos compared to other words in other languages that could have a similar meaning but use a root of two, you find something. In Latin, the root word do is used in dubium. Dubium means doubt. It's where we get the English word dubious. And in other languages, such as German, and I forget the exact word for doubt in German, but the root word for it is zwei, which is two in German. So there's this idea that he puts forward that this deos or delos really aligns more with doubt. And that the reason these languages use two as the root word for doubt and a doubting fear is that doubt causes you to be of two minds. You're thinking two things. You're thinking of the positive and the negative outcome at the same time, and it's creating doubt and fear for you. So you're of two minds. So when we apply that back to why are you so fearful, how is it that you have no faith? Why are you so two-minded? Why are you so doubtful? It fits a little bit better than fearful, because then he immediately goes into their faith. He's basically asking them, why are you wavering, if you think about it? To be of two minds, to waver back and forth, which reminds me of James 1:6, which says, "But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed." A wave of the sea, driven and tossed in the wind, just like their boat. Why are you so doubtful and wavering? How is it that you have no faith? You see, I don't think Christ is rebuking them here for their fear of the storm. Christ doesn't rebuke us for fearing rational things. Instead, he's rebuking them for what the fear did to them and how they reacted to it. So look for examples of better reactions to fear and for examples of people who faced fear. And one of the ones I came up with was King David. And that might not be something you think of at first when I'm talking about fear. But let's take a look at his life, and I'm going to give you a quick rundown of some of the things that happened in David's life, because I can only imagine how anxious that man could have been. As a child, he had to face lions and bears while protecting his father's sheep. He then was anointed to be king while there was already a king on the throne who wasn't too happy about it. He faced Goliath. He fought in battles all over Israel. He had to flee from his own country to escape that king who was still alive that he was supposed to replace. He had to go to a foreign country and lie to them that, no, I'm safe for you guys. I'm not going to fight you guys. His family was stolen by raiders. His own sons, 2 of them, rose against him and had coups. If anyone could have been anxious his entire life, David really fits the bill. But how did he react? Did he feel the fear? How did he react to the fear? He wrote 73 Psalms. In case you didn't know, there's only 150 total. Or 140 total, sorry. He wrote over half of the Psalms in our Bible. How did he react to the fear? How did he react to the anxiety? He praised and he prayed. Psalm 56, 1 through 4. He says, "Be merciful to me, O God, for man would swallow me up. Fighting all day, he oppresses me. My enemies would hound me all day, for there are many who fight against me, O Most High. Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you. In God, I will praise his word. In God, I have put my trust. I will not fear. What can flesh do to me?" He admits it. Whenever I am afraid. He's not one of these pseudo-masculine guys that are like, I never feel fear. He admits it right here. I feel fear. But what does the fear make him do? He turns to God. Psalm 27, 1. "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" He turns to God in his fear, and he understands that confidence in God fights doubt and fear. Psalm 23, the most famous of all of his psalms. Most of us can probably recite it. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." See, David's answer to fear is to turn to God, to trust in him, to pray and to praise. Another example I thought of was Jesus himself. I can only imagine how he felt the night before his trial and crucifixion as he prayed in the garden, and it says that he sweat as it were great drops of blood. But I imagine there was at least some level of fear. He prays, "Let this cup pass from me." I see some amount of fear in that, but what does the fear do to him? His very next statement says it all. "Not my will, but yours be done." He relinquishes the fear to his Father. He leans into their relationship and gives control to him. He prays to God. You see, that's the remedy to fear. Trust and confidence in God. Praising and praying to him in the moments we feel fear, in the moments we feel anxiety, to release that back to the Father. So that's what we need to look at with the disciples. Going all the way back to our story, how did they react to the fear? How did they react to their situation? They sought every physical remedy for what was going wrong. And then they blamed Jesus for not helping, for not caring. How do we react when we're faced with tough situations, when we're faced with fearful situations and anxiety? Do we run around the deck scrambling for physical answers? Do we look for answers from our fellow man? Do we blame God for the situation we're in? Or do we lean on him, asking him for help, having the confidence that we are in his hands? Charles Spurgeon, in a sermon on fear, said, "Cares are manifold. Therefore, let your prayers be as manifold. Turn into a prayer everything that is a care. Let your cares be the raw materials of your prayers. And as the alchemists hope to turn dross into gold, so do you, by a holy alchemy, actually turn what naturally would have been a care into spiritual treasure in the form of prayer. Baptize every anxiety in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost, and so make it into a blessing." And Sunday School is going to sing a special number for us this morning.
valley active